Thanks, Miranda. My name is Peter Nivorosky. I'm a Ward 8 resident. I live about 500 yards that way across the railroad tracks, so I live in this community. I've been a biologist at the University of Akron since 1995. When I moved to Akron, my research and teaching specialty is ecology and evolution of reptiles and amphibians. A few of my neighbors approached me earlier this fall and asked if I was aware of the new development that was moving forward at White Pond. I had no idea at that time. They asked me for my opinion about the habitat and whether there were species of concern there. It didn't take me long to make a short list of reptile and amphibian species that live or may live on that site, this site. The ones that came to mind immediately are 4 species that are biologically a bit extraordinary. Wood turtles and spotted turtles have been documented at a wetland site that is a little over 2 miles away from here. That site is connected to the White Pond site by streams, runs, and ditches and small patches of forest. Those turtles could easily be resident on or use the White Pond site. It's impossible to know without an assessment like a turtle trapping study. Both of those turtle species have been recommended to be listed as federally endangered species, and that decision will be made next year. The other 2 species are the wood frog and a mole salamander that is part of an all-female species complex. The frog is extraordinary because every winter many of the adults freeze solid, literally, and then thaw out in the spring perfectly fine. The salamander species complex is extraordinary because 4 to 5 different species interbreed, making hybrids, and they essentially reproduce by cloning themselves. So when you find one individual, it's hard to tell which species mix it is unless you do detailed genetic analyses. One of that species in the complex is the blue spotted salamander, which is listed as endangered in the state of Ohio. I find wood frogs and mole salamanders in my backyard every year. The wetlands and ponds on the White Pond site are the closest breeding habitat for both of them, so they definitely live here. After getting filled in by my neighbors about the development, I decided to join with them and many others in asking the city to slow down so it could be determined if the species I mentioned above are on the site. But really the bigger issue, as many citizens have repeatedly pointed out, is that destroying the habitat will have consequences for all of the flora and fauna there, as well as for the services the habitat provides to the neighborhood, Akron, and our collective responsibility for clean water, air, and to help mitigate climate change. Finally, I have to say that as a scientist, I have found the response of city leadership to our legitimate concerns about things like the habitat, traffic, tax abatements, and construction risks to be reprehensible. Instead of providing evidence-based answers, they have chosen to mislead and insult our intelligence. They claim to have answered all questions with an FAQ and other documents that strike me as a not very sophisticated con job. Just one of the several examples, traffic. The city requested and received a comment from the Akron Metropolitan Area Transportation Study, AMATS, about the potential impacts of the White Pond development on traffic in the area. The AMATS comment cites automobile counts from 2004, 2006, 2019, and 2022 on White Pond Drive and concludes that the number of automobiles after development is completed is not expected to be higher than the counts in 2004, so everything should be just fine. What AMATS and the city fail to mention is that according to AMAT's own detailed 2021 annual report of roadway traffic congestion, the sections of White Pond Drive that residents are most concerned about were cited as having some of the worst congestion in all of Greater Akron, earning the worst designation given, severely congested. This omission just smacks of intellectual dishonesty and a con job. In science and at the university, that sort of thing can get you expelled. All this leads me to wonder, what else might they be hiding?
So these are our closing statements. We appreciate the citizens, including the one who just honked, giving their time, energies, and talents to this effort, towards showing up to community meetings, sending emails, and making their voices known. We ourselves are still in the process of determining what a vision for this land could be. We have heard from hundreds of citizens that they want more time. More time would allow us to collaborate as a community, craft a citizen-driven proposal, and create a neighborhood that works for everyone. We do not want to presume to speak for the citizens, though we have spent months listening to their vision for the community. And we can say confidently that we are certain that what Mayor Horgan and his administration have proposed is a far cry from it. We therefore ask our city councilors to vote against the sale of this land. A vote against this stands for process. A vote against this stands for citizen voices. A vote against this stands for the future of this community, and we hope you will join us in crafting that future together. Thank you.
With that, we will be ending our press conference. Thank you all for joining, and hope to talk to you all soon.